Rox D. Xebec is the greatest pirate we have ever seen. Joy Boy might be the first and Sanji might be my favorite, but Xebec had something to him that we never expected. Charisma. And in today's video, we'll be going over who I think is the greatest to ever do it. What's up guys, Gamblrr here, and in today's video, we'll be talking a lot about Rox D. Xebec. I've been waiting to do this video because we of course knew he would meet his end on God's Valley, but I needed to see everything so I can make a video like this one. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe. We're on our way to 100k. I love each and every one of y'all, but without any further delay, let's get to talking about Xebec. Alright, so while I was outlining this video, I felt like it would be great for me to go over how we expected Rox to be like before we got introduced to him into the actual story. I remember actually watching this scene back in quarantine and being so shook that there was someone who led Whitebeard. Whitebeard was the biggest one, but there was also Big Mom, Kaido. I was truly shook, so I believed he was the strongest of all time. I wasn't that far off, obviously I was wrong, but the idea wasn't completely far-fetched. From what we knew, Rox had Whitebeard under his command. Like, he had to be that guy. On the same topic as this, I don't actually know if this is true, but I have a feeling that people were thinking that Rox was a buggy type of captain where he just luckily got Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido under his crew. But overall, we knew that this was supposed to be gas, okay? Even though Kaido was way younger, and obviously when I first started One Piece, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, Kaido was probably a teenager back then. No, I was thinking about the Kaido we was about to see in Wano, okay? But it is this mindset that had early Gamblrr, like back in quarantine. He actually used to think that Roger was like a step above Whitebeard. I don't know why, and I cannot find it at the moment. But I remember replying to this guy who was posting the clip of Roger and Whitebeard fighting. And for some reason, it was so dumb, bro. But I said that Whitebeard was weaker than Roger because Whitebeard had gravity on his side while he was, you know, doing the attack downwards and Roger had to attack upwards. It was very dumb logic, ignoring the entire context of the scene, but you can see how God's Valley really shaped my ideas and opinions on the matter. Obviously, after a couple years and seeing a lot of people's opinions, I basically immediately understood how they are all equal. But throughout all of this, Rox being the strongest was always my opinion. And funnily enough, I found a statement while people were talking about Rox, and it said something about Rox being Roger's greatest foe. I don't remember if that was Sengoku or if that was in the data book, but it still exists. But speaking of Sengoku told us about Rox, and we were expecting not only a very strong pirate captain, but a very violent and mean one. Okay, is mean the right word here? Let's say vicious. I was thinking along the lines of Kuro or Don Krieg. You know, those kinds of captains. They're super strong, especially compared to their crew members, and they do what they want. And so that was my opinion on Rox, and I totally forgot about Rox. He would only be brought up again when we're talking about tier lists for pirates of all time, but we knew nothing about him for real. Then came chapter 1001, where Kaido lists his top 5 and then Xebec is there. And that was my confirmation that I was right. He is the strongest pirate of all time or something. Not of all time, but I mean, yeah, of all time. I wasn't thinking about Joy Boy or anything. And yeah, he was just only brought up when it comes to power scaling. I don't really remember seeing any theories about who he really was or anything like that. We just knew he had some ties to Blackbeard because of Hachinosu, and really that was it. But finally we enter Elbaf and Loki starts name dropping Xebec. We inch closer and closer, and then we enter chapter 1154. Still my favorite chapter of the entire flashback so far, and after one of my favorite scenes of the flashback, Xebec pulls up in all of his glory. Words cannot describe the hype when this chapter came out, bro. We knew nothing about this guy, and he pulls up And Oda finally drops it. This guy is Blackbeard's dad. He looks exactly like him and he's on Elbaf. And not only that, Oda drops a power scaling gas on him, saying that he killed an admiral 8 years ago during the reverie. It was crazy, to say the very least, especially for the admiral agenda. But hey, at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. This always happens where new things will come out, people will overreact, and then the dust settles, and then wow, people like me are right. This isn't even an ego thing. I'm not right about everything, but like when it comes to the admirals, sometimes I am correct. But this isn't meant to be like a power scaling video, so I'm not gonna get into that once again. But yeah, 1154 was generational. Like, it was insane finally seeing Rox's face. The next chapter kicked off and Rox did another number on agenda piece. Literally the second page of the chapter, Rox starts using his sword, and then we get this infamous statement. Rox's swordsmanship was renowned for its brutal impact akin to a giant hammer or cannon fire. Last week we was talking about admirals, this week we're talking about swordsmanship, bro. And then we saw it in action. It was a shockwave when Rox slashed at Loki. Mihawk fans took this and they were saying that, you know, Shanks is a swordsman and this is confirmation of it. But Shanks fans were taking this and saying that this is confirmation that Shanks isn't a swordsman because of the shockwaves coming from the sword. It's just really dumb. At the end of the day, it literally says swordsmanship right there. People just decide to ignore that for some reason because it doesn't cut in quotations. It is what it is, but Rox already just put 2 holes into agenda piece. And then we get one of my favorite scenes of Xebec himself. And this is when I found out that Xebec would be generational, at least to me. The incident would be the first and last of its kind. An intruder made it all the way to the flower room, hidden deep within the Holy Land. The narrator tells us this as we see Xebec casually just sitting in the flower room right next to Imu and Gunko with a gun out. Just wait. One day I will be back. This was absolutely unprecedented in the story and for the characters as well. This guy who we just met pulled up on Imu. Bro, who has pulled up on Imu like this? He pulled up on the king of the world and said, I'm coming back here and you're not gonna do anything about it. That's the mark of a true ambitious man. Like, sure, Blackbeard was talking about how this is his era or something like that, and Luffy's talking about becoming Pirate King, but bro, Xebec had something else in mind. And again, it's unprecedented in the story. No one has pulled up on Imu like this ever before. But then there was a little bit of mystery to it because it also said he knew there was nothing more he could do in that moment, so he withdrew with those words. Even though Xebec's super strong, super ambitious, he can't really do anything to Imu just yet. And hey, we just came from the regular story where Imu summoned 2 demons out of Dory and Broggy. Like, yeah, we can understand that, dude. But it doesn't even end there because Rox pulls up after killing the admiral and he sees Harold. We get this insane Konkurosaki clash between the 2 of them. And just from this clash, even though they said that they were going to attack the other, they found a respect in each other. And so after this, they wouldn't meet for 8 years straight. But before we get back to their second meeting, we actually find out that Rox wasn't even infamous just yet. The guy probably didn't even have a bounty yet, and he had advanced Konkurosaki. So yeah, it was kind of crazy to think about. But then we finally see Harold and Rox meet for the second time. But without any further delay, this guy immediately asks Harold to join the crew. And here is where Rox actually starts to talk about how weird it is that the king of the giants, and the giants have a terrible reputation at the moment, is like this. Don't be a wet blanket, Harold. Elbaf has the greatest warriors in the world. If something churns your stomach, you should just crush it. But Harold obviously disagrees, and he's saying that's the old way of Elbaf. Elbaf has changed since then. After this though, Harold turns to the crew and he asks them, why are you guys following this guy? This is where we get a scene that I'm convinced a lot of people forgot even happened. And it's where the crew basically says, I don't really care about rocks, I just want to get my own stuff. This is of course important because we knew all the way since when rocks was first talked about that this crew could not be held. It was a very strong crew, but there was no coordination. They're just too much. But also, we were getting little bits of hints from Kaido's backstory that people were betraying each other. This will make way more sense when we get into God's Valley, but just keep that in mind. But at the end of this chapter, Rocks officially tells us his ambition. He's going to claim it. The whole world. Something real quick to keep in mind is that during this chapter they were yapping about taking Hachinosu, and then boom, the next chapter, Hachinosu has been taken over by Xebec. I mean, before even going over what Rocks does during this chapter, dude, this is what makes Rocks great for me. He makes plans. He tells people about the plans and he actually executes. And he's never quiet about it. He knows what he's gonna do, he tells people what he's gonna do, and he does it. And so once we see Rocks, there we go again. He has another plan and something that he has to do to execute it. Rocks needs 2 devil fruits. One of them is on Elbaf, but Herald needs to eat it. But also he does need the Garling giants who are in ice, but if they come back, they wouldn't even listen to Rocks. But Rocks tells them that's the reason they need Herald. He keeps insisting that Herald join his crew and Herald join him on this crazy quest because Herald is the key to doing it all. But then Kaido interjects and he says, can't we just use our strength to force them to obey? We can do the same thing to that Herald guy as well. But immediately, Rocks kicks the crap out of him. He says, don't say that again. Rocks explains that Herald is his good pal. I'll crush you if you say that again. In between this dialogue though, we get another scene that I guess people forgot about as well. And Captain John just blatantly says this group is bound to implode sooner or later, but this isn't the time. But forget all that, because the final double spread of the chapter is probably my favorite spread of Rocks, and it's on the thumbnail. Rocks tells his crew the exact plan. Listen up, you lot. Elbaf is the key to bringing down the Holy Land. If any of you don't buy that, then get lost. It's your choice if you want to stand with me on the day of destiny. But if you got the guts, follow me and I'll take you to the world summit. Who in One Piece is speaking like this man? Who? Can someone comment down below? Oh wait, you can't, because no one is like this guy. Man, he's got me, bro. So we enter the next chapter, chapter 1157. And this specific conversation doesn't start here, but it's definitely a catalyst for a pretty weird conversation to be had. And it's the question of, is Rocks a good guy? Well, not really a good guy. I don't think people genuinely think he's a good guy, but is Rocks not a bad guy? That's the better word. I thought it was pretty obvious that Rocks is a pretty bad guy. I mean, the first time we saw him, he literally slashed at Loki. We also saw back during Elbaf that Rocks stabbed the boy, and it was so crazy that Whitebeard was like, bro, you didn't have to use a blade on the kid. And then we entered 1157 and they were literally listing a whole bunch of stuff. In a mere 2 years since their formation, the record of the Rocks crew spoke for itself. 16 documented raids, 76 sunken ships, 14 ports reduced to ash, 5 towns wiped off the map, 1 nation brought to ruin, 3 unprecedented violations of Article 18 of international law, and 25 criminal records quietly erased. Even with the future Pirate King Goldie Roger sailing the seas, it would not be an overstatement to refer to this period as the era of Rocks. I mean, do I have to say anything more? This guy was a madman, and the narrator even called him a madman. But that's another conversation we'll save for God's Valley, and so we enter the next chapter. Here we find Herald and Rocks fighting after Herald got an order to kill Rocks. Obviously on both sides they're hurting. Rocks is probably hurt that his friend actually tries to kill him for the world government, and Herald literally says that he was split. Rocks on the other hand, he keeps expressing that the way Herald is acting is just really weird. They see you giants as nothing but a military asset. You'll all be enslaved as soldiers. What happened to your warrior's pride? Don't you have your own will? But on the other side, Harrow's talking about how he's a king, and joining Rocks might as well set them back like 100 years. And so they end the fight, basically stalemating. This unorthodox friendship had come to an end. The two would not meet again for some time. However, right after, we get a statement that they didn't meet until the day of a certain incident. And then we flip the page. I mean, not actually, because we don't got the volumes, but we went down a page and we saw God's Valley. This was big because when you think about a One Piece flashback, I think God's Valley would have been #1 on everybody's list, at least in terms of what they wanted to see. And boy, were we in for something insane. The next chapter was packed with stuff. I didn't even remember all of this happening in one chapter, but we found out that God's Valley actually was started because of Shaggy. It was insane to everyone, but it especially pissed me off because, like, bro, I mean, I truly despise just terrible reasons for people being places. And Roger just being there because he wants to get some cutty, bro, like, oh my goodness, bro, can we be real? But when it matters, Rocks always comes through because this guy couldn't care less about Shaggy. I mean, okay, I'm not gonna say he couldn't care less, but he cared about something more. So Rocks finds Harold in his way, and Harold has the world government on his tail. But they sit together, have a drink, and have a talk. And Rocks drops one of the craziest things in the entire series. That his name isn't actually Rocks D. Xebec, it's actually Davy D. Xebec. And the real reason why he's pulling up to God's Valley is because his wife and child are there. It's a whole lot going on here, bro. We just found out that Blackbeard and Shanks are born in the same hometown as well as Xebec, and this entire situation is going on because of Garling. The amount of things that tie Blackbeard and Shanks together is just ridiculous, bro. Like, this is definitely a fight that's going to happen. But it's more crazy that Rocks is actually a Davy D clan member. We didn't really know the significance of this yet, but at the end of the chapter, we get an announcement from one of the Celestial Dragons. Every world noble knows the tourney features several super rare rabbits to hunt. This year, we've not only secured a brat from the Buccaneer tribe, but for the first time in 800 years, we've also uncovered members of the Davy D clan. Immediately in the next chapter, we see the hate that they have for them. Sever their bloodlines. You can see the devilish look of them. And we see little baby Blackbeard just scared about what's going on at the moment. But as the terrible tournament goes on, the Rocks Pirates pull up. And of course, the Rocks Pirates can't pull up without Rocks dropping a bar. Listen up, fellas. They've got Shaggy here along with a bunch of treasure, not to mention devil fruits. Ain't no point in us killing each other over this stuff yet. We've got to work together for now. We'll divvy up the booty once we're back, and there better not be any belly aching, got it? Even though he's here for a specific reason, he doesn't tell anybody that. To them, he's there for Shaggy, but for real, this guy's stressing out. We actually don't see Rocks for real for like a chapter, but once we enter chapter 1162, this is where Rocks really started to shine. We find out that Rocks is actually fighting Garling on the other side of the island, and what we see is, I couldn't even call it a fight for real. Rocks is carrying his wife and child in one arm, he has his sword in the other, and he's being chased by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. 4 of them being Domi Reversi Davy D clan members. The other 2, however, are Holy Knights, and one of them being Fartling. Rocks is putting belt to butt off screen, bro. Like, these guys are chasing him, but you can see the terrible injuries on Garling's head. And funnily enough, Eris literally says that he's handicapped because he's holding them. And so once Eris convinces Rocks that they should run away, Rocks turns to the Holy Knights and he unleashes a powerful attack. This gets pushed off screen, but when we come back, Garling is on the floor with the Garling is impaled by what seems to be his own sword. It's just overall a pathetic look. Rocks has basically low dipped them without a handicap. And so now we enter one of Rocks' final fights. Emu possesses Saturn after Saturn tells him that Rocks isn't dead yet. And so Rocks, Whitebeard, and eventually Kaido face off against Emu. But at the same time, Garp and Roger notice the presence, and Rocks ends the chapter off with a bar. What is it, you ask? If I had to say, I'd say it's the world. Yeah, this guy is top one, bro. And so in the next chapter, Emu recognizes Rocks as a Davy D. He actually calls him Davy Jones, but Rocks says, I'm not that guy, but promises need to be kept. And so after being off screen, we see 6 different named attacks being shot at Emu. But it does nothing. Emu recovers and goes into the sky to look for Eris and Blackbeard. As a result of the rage bait though, Rocks goes into the air and starts slicing that boy up. But it amounts to nothing. Emu's just sliced up in the air and he suddenly stabs Rocks. It will not be Mu who acts, thou shall be the one to exterminate them, go forth and slay your wife and child. And so the chapter ends with a Domi Reversi, and Rocks starts to transform into the demon that we know in the next chapter. Before fully transforming though, Rocks does have to talk some crap. He starts to drop a little bit of lore that we have to piece together, that Davy D. Jones was the name of the previous king of the world. And then he puts into question if he's scared of Davy Jones or Joy Boy. Emu isn't with the rage bait though, he fully transforms him into a demon, and once he comes down, he rocks both Big Mom and Kaido basically instantly. Whitebeard does retaliate, but eventually he just gets off screened. But the next time we do see Rocks, he pulls up on Eris and his child, and he's fully gone. Like, there's no saving him, he's genuinely about to kill his wife and child. And Eris says something pretty interesting. So you lost. I'm sorry, it's our fault. You faced that thing to save us even though you weren't ready yet. Luckily for them, they get teleported by Kuma before they could get slashed or hit with the cannonballs. But Emu is not done toying around with Rocks. And so Rocks is frying everybody on the island. However, Roger and Garp, they're ready for some smoke, so they tell him to bring it on. And in one of the final panels of that chapter, we can see Xebec crying and using the voice of all things to tell Roger and Garp to kill him. The next chapter was basically Rocks just dominating them the entire time, and so eventually Roger and Garp find out that they have to attack him with full force. But before we get into the end of the fight, we have to go over a little bit more things. First off, again, the crew is just disbanding. Big Mom and Kaido part ways, Whitebeard is walking away, Captain John is walking away, Shiki is walking away, and they don't really care. People were saying it doesn't make sense that they're just walking away from Rocks instantly, but again, we saw basically 2 different instances of them saying, I don't care about any of you or this crew. And so I feel like this reaction makes sense, but to me it felt bittersweet because Shiki especially, he's been there, he's been an OG, and he's saying the Rocks pirates are history and he's just about to go about his day. Another thing I wanted to go over is the Rocks good guy thing again. So look, obviously he's not a monster, right? He cares for his wife and child. But he is a madman, bro. Like, this doesn't really change the grand scheme of things. I don't know if I said this earlier, but y'all can let me know your thoughts on that in the comments if, you know, Rocks is a good guy to you. But yeah, he's not a good guy. But my favorite part about this chapter is near the end before they shoot their final attack. Garp says that he doesn't have any words to comfort him at the moment, but one thing he does know is that he can feel his frustration, and we see Rocks crying. This guy's mind is probably still there watching his body just attack Roger and Garp, and mind you, the fact that he's attacking Roger and Garp isn't what's making him frustrated. It's the fact that he's still alive, he can't control his body, and he has to continue thinking about how he failed his master plan. Like, literally imagine you've been prepping to fight Emu for probably over a decade. Emu pulls up on you at the wrong time, then you get your body controlled, and all you can do from there is just think. That's all, he's literally just thinking now. And so obviously he wants to end it all. He wants it done. And so Roger and Garp do it. They shoot their named attacks, and Rocks is done. I feel like it would be fitting if I added this narrative statement, so here we go. The world government tried their best to bury this incident in the shadows. However, the disbanding of the chaotic crew led by Rocks D. Xebec will leave an undeniable echo. the Rock's pirates destabilized an entire era, and the tremors of their legacy will continue to shake the entire world. I can't believe I did that in one take. What the heck? But anyways, that's Rocks, bro. Rocks is the greatest pirate to me because of his charisma. I always made it a note in this video to say that Rocks is dropping a bar because no one drops bars like Rocks. And that's what pulled me in, because no one talks like this guy. No one motivates his crew like this guy. And so it was a sad ending for sure, but at the end of the day, Rocks has left a crazy legacy. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.